Today's episode is about a big question in business and actually everywhere in life. When to let go of something and when to keep persevering. Hello and welcome to the Successful, Sensitive and Intuitive Entrepreneur podcast. My name is Lydia Sophia Wilmsen and I am an intuitive success mentor for sensitive entrepreneurs. In this podcast, I speak about the challenges sensitive and intuitive entrepreneurs face. I offer you new perspectives and solutions, as well as experiences of other entrepreneurs. Plus, I speak about my personal experience of being a highly sensitive person who has successfully built and scaled 2 businesses. All of that with the goal to make you and your business even more successful in your very unique and authentic way. Have fun and enjoy. And that's super interesting because right now I am about to start our little mastermind meeting here. So we arrived in the north of Germany next to the sea. And after the podcast, after this episode, I will most definitely let go of working for today and also for the coming days. So it's really about when do you keep going and when do you take a break? And sometimes when do you take a break indefinitely? Like when do you stop something forever? Because persevering and keeping going in our achievement-oriented society is equated with success. It is basically the right thing to do. And then letting go and giving up is seen as failure most of the times. Really, a whole collective narrative and culture stands behind this perspective. And my goal with this episode is not to tell you what to do in your very specific situation. Might it be a business idea you have been working on for a long time without having the desired results, where you think like, shall I keep going? Shall I keep trying? Or shall I give it up and just do something else? Or might it be a relationship you don't know if you want to keep having? Or you think like, oh gosh, we have been together for 10 years and I don't know if this is it anymore. Or a habit you have been following without results, might be diet, habit of a morning routine, whatever. So I won't give you answers personally and specifically to your personal issue. However, you can obviously take something from this podcast episode and apply it to your specific situation. So I will first help you to question the common narrative I just mentioned of seeing perseverance as success and letting go as failure. And I want to invite you to start seeing different perspectives on that. And then I will give you some pragmatic ways to actually get clarity on what to do in your specific scenarios. Okay, let's start with the more common perspective shifts. There is so little clarity on when to persevere and when to let go. There is so much fear on doing it wrong. And let me start right there. Because this fear and the place of stagnation in between, shall I keep going, shall I stop, is the most detrimental and draining one. Like this place is really detrimental and draining. Not deciding fully for one or the other takes so much energy from you for nothing, because nothing happens there in that place. Staying in something, even though you're not committed fully anymore, is kind of insanity. And this is what happens in most cases. I have heard, because I have spoken to quite some people for this podcast episode and asked for their experiences, and I heard many different scenarios. For example, from people who studied and kept studying, even though they knew for 2 years this was not it. They kept doing it. And then they used to play computer games all the time. So they didn't actually study very much. Or relationships, people stayed in there, or people stayed in really like in jobs which weren't fulfilling at all. They just had the feeling they had to do it. And they weren't bringing their A game to that anymore. They kept doing that. And it took a lot of energy from them. Or others keep a project running, but just half-hearted and doubtful. Or they stay in a relationship, as I just said, and start an affair. So in this place in between, this stagnation place, this is what you have to leave. And you will recognize that for yourself. Usually we know this deep inside that this is not the place to be. When energy is constantly leaving you without getting things done, then this is really a big hint that something is not going as it should be, or as it could be, or it is going in a way not as good as it could be going. And you have to understand that both, either persevering, like keeping going, or letting go, they can both be beautiful and a sign of success. They both have their time. They are both equally valuable. Our society sees it as bad to let go, you know? It is really good. You have to keep going. You have to persevere. You have to strive for something. Like there are a lot of motivational videos out there on especially that topic. So letting go and stopping something, basically failing as it is seen, you know, that's the bad thing. That is seen as the bad thing. And funny enough, you can see like the striving, the aiming, the going in one direction. You can see this actually as the masculine principle. And see it as that, as a collective narrative, which is not the only truth. It is part of the truth, but only half of it. And the letting go part can be seen as a more feminine principle. Surrendering, giving up control, giving up direction, flowing in all directions, softening up, leaning into the unknown, because that happens if you give up that idea, that goal, that relationship, that habit. First, there might be the unknown, like what now? The aimless, the just being for a moment. And both are necessary and beautiful. There is not one without the other. And there are actually many shades of gray in between. So this is a huge first perspective shift for you. That this striving for, this direction, this going for it and keeping going and persevering, it is beautiful. However, it is just one part of this, it is just one part of it, just one side of the coin. And letting go is not the bad one out. It is equally beautiful. And both have their time, and actually they work together. There is not one without the other. And there are actually many differences, or many different shades of gray in between. Letting go and persevering are like both ends of a spectrum. And there are many states in between. And you basically have to learn how to marry them both, how to bring them together, how to use them both, how to incorporate them both in your life and also in a very specific situation. There is very often not one decision you can take. There might be many tiny decisions in between to take. And both mean, like the feminine principle, the masculine principle, the persevering, the letting go, both mean to do the inner work. And I will talk about this in a moment. To see letting go as a success instead of failure can even help you to reconnect with your business goal or relationship, habit, or whatever, and go for it again. Saying no can create a new powerful yes. You have to understand, it does not waste the yes from before. A relationship ending does not annihilate the beautiful years together before. Or stopping a project in your business doesn't annihilate or like wasting the years of building that business. This is all experience, all things you learned. It is your life. So it's never wasted. And really, it is your decision how to see it. You had a wonderful time. Now there is an end to it. For example, I studied and I never worked with my diploma. I finished my university, I have my diploma. I never ever worked in this. And I deliberately chose to not work in that area. So do I see my diploma, my years of studying as a waste? Not at all. Not at all. Zero. It was part of my process of finding my big why in my life. So understanding what you don't want is a powerful part of the process of understanding what you do want. And another thing is that every person else out there has her or his own pattern. Some are really good in starting things, and they are not really good in persevering and ending them. So they are those with the amazing new ideas, those amazing new goals. And then there are others who are not really good in starting, but once they have decided to go for something, they get this stuff done. So for them, it's really problematic or difficult to get going with a new project, a new idea. But once they have decided, and it perhaps takes them 5 years to decide on that, they bring it to an end. Therefore, it is less about success and failure and more about what your unique pattern is and how to flexibilize this. If you heavily lie on one end of the spectrum, for example, on I start something all the time, every day I have a new idea. You might profit from doing more from the other end and vice versa. So for people who are good in finishing stuff, they might do a bit more of starting out, of like taking the risk and going for it. And others might, profit from not starting as many things, not following every idea that they have, and instead lean a little bit more into the persevering side of things. Now, as I have already started going more into the personal realm, I want to give you some more things to work on and shift for you personally now, or to really like just listen to what I say and see if you can find yourself in that, if this might be something which could be something for you, or which resonates with you or not. So the first question is, what is your pattern? Are you a starter or are you a finisher? And then, can you balance the two? For example, if there is a big question for you right now, business or personal wise, if you should keep going or let go, then check in with yourself. What is your usual pattern? Do you quickly let go of things and end things? Then it might be interesting to see if you kept going a bit more this time. Or if you usually ride dead horses, now might be the time to get off a bit earlier, take the risk and jump into the unknown, like free yourself from old goals, which perhaps were never used to begin with. And with that, I want to come to the second point, which is that you really check with yourself where what you're holding on came from. Like this idea, this business idea, this relationship even, this habit. Was it actually your idea? Or is it an idea perceived from society, how it should be? Like the Hollywood relationship, the business model everyone follows, the diet you're following. Are they actually something you're excited by? I know so many people who studied something because they should. And actually, they just wanted to take a world trip. But they didn't, because it was, you need to study. And what I mentioned before, people who knew that this wasn't theirs, and they kept doing that. They weren't excited about that anymore. And they followed the should instead of their unique idea. So ask yourself, was this your idea to begin with? Or was it your family who wanted that you studied medicine, or that you shouldn't go onto an entrepreneurial path? I have this very often with my clients, that they come not from a very business-oriented part of society, and they wanted to do that thing for ages. And they never took the risk because there was so much doubt in the family. Like, you can't do that and you will belong to the rich people and blah, blah, blah. So really think about that. The things you're not doing, but also those you are doing, were they yours to begin with? And then with that, go deeper into the limiting voices in your head. If you gave up now, what would happen? What would you yourself or others tell you? Someone said that a very strong voice inside her head was, I invested so much time into it. I would be stupid to let go of it now. Like, really, the idea of wasting something, what I mentioned before. Or another person said, you can't, had this internal voice of, you can't do that. You have to keep going no matter what. You can't stop now. You just can't do that. The idea of perseverance as the ultimate ideal, basically. Or someone else said this idea of, you will look weak. If I stop now, I'll be seen as weak. It is really a big one. Letting go as the ultimate failure and weakness. Another big one, what will others think of me? The opinion of others and the image you give is of more importance than your own feeling good, your own vibes with it. So find the limiting beliefs and the fears behind the idea of letting go in order to transform them. And the same goes with staying with an idea or a business model or relationship, whatever. So if you're a person who lets go of something too quickly, what voices and whose voices are running through your head? This will never work. I am not made for this. This is too risky. Don't start until you have XYZ in your bank account. Don't do the unsensible. You will find those voices always. Really take some time to look out, whether you are on the one end spectrum or the other, what the voices are, what they are telling you, and whose voices they are. And if you transform those, or when you have successfully transformed those, you have done lots of the necessary part, actually. It will free up so much energy for the decision, for a free decision, guided by yourself and not by society, your dad, your mother, your friends, your coach, or whomever anymore. This is the part of self-reflection. Really be willing to go deep, search, and you'll find. And ask yourself, what is your win in the current situation? That also helps sometimes to get clarity whom you don't want to bother with your decision. What is your win? Like someone is not complaining, or like with whom can you stay friends? With whom can you smooth waters if you don't decide, if you don't change the current situation of persevering or letting go? Point number 4 is, what is your big why behind this perseverance, or also behind letting go? For example, I kept going for a long time with my business, like really years, even though I was not properly successful. My very personal why was so big that I would have kept going until the end, because it still fulfilled me so much. Like I could handle the seeming failure part for a long time because of a strong why. Of course, you need to check in with your resources, time, energy, money. If you deplete them, then there will be an end to it at some point. Find a strong why for either of it. And this will add a powerful resource of energy. Like with that big why, you have so much more energy to keep going. I could have gone forever because I had funds coming in from different areas. However, there came a point where I knew I needed to change things, and I got different coaches. I worked on myself because I also wasn't having the impact I wanted to have. So it was not just that my big why was like, oh, now I keep going. I have like some clients once in a while, and that's enough. No, I knew I wanted to play bigger. So there needed to be a change. Yeah, and with that, I want to add a bit of pragmatism. You really should give up when keeping going will not realistically bring you closer to achieving your goal and will leave you worse off than you were before undertaking or starting out with that goal, starting out with that attempt, starting out with that business idea, relationship, whatever. So when you can see, like in my case, I saw I wasn't getting closer to filling up my coaching practice. And then there came the point where my energy went down, when I went into burnout. And yeah, I should have changed something before that. Now I know better. And now I help my clients actually to stop before that point. So when you see that realistically nothing is changing, and you're feeling worse every day, if you're sacrificing your mental, emotional, physical health, that is a big sign, my dear. So listen to your body, mind, and soul. And then it might be the time to stop and let go. So there is pragmatism with that. It's not just this big idea I have to go forever for or something. No. And then make a decision is the next point. Whatever it is, just powerfully going for something will create clarity and perhaps even bring you back into your old direction. Just leave that stagnation point. Just making that decision sometimes really helps you to reconnect with that old goal of yours, because then you see, like, now I decided against it. I took a break. And like a month later, you have new energy and you actually have new ideas how to do it. And then another big point is flexibilize yourself and your goal. Find your shade of gray. Take a relationship break for a month. Sometimes it's not ending the whole thing altogether. Or put your business idea on slow mode and focus on something else for 2 weeks, for 2 months, for a year. Go on holidays. This is also letting go for a moment. Or follow another idea you were interested in. Shake things up. Get some fresh perspectives. Talk to people. Get a coach. Get a new coach. Adjust and adapt. Einstein is probably misattributed the phrase, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And sometimes this will mean to start with smaller changes instead of ending something altogether, as I just said, or start something new in a smaller version. However, don't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. You will need to shake up things. And then another point is to learn to love failure and see it as equal part of success. They are not good and bad. It is always your perspective. We all know it in business. We all had those launches that didn't work. We all had those months of no income, especially in the beginning, of course. And those were failures. And they are part of the process. They are not bad. You can really see it like inhaling and exhaling. None is better than the other. Learn from your failures. Of course, it's not sitting there and just expecting one failure after the other. Of course not. It's about learning. It's either a win. You either win or you learn. This is called life. No failure, no successes. Last but not least, sometimes it is just time to let go, even if it deeply hurts. Better a terrible end than unending terror. I really love that phrase. And admit your mistakes. You don't need to be perfect. No. Lean into vulnerability and you'll be an inspiration in the world which strives for perfection and success and aimless, heartless beauty and all of that stuff. Bring your soul with everything into the world. And if that means ending something, trust it. If it means persevering, do that. However, you can't walk away from hurt or from deep feelings. They will come with the process and they are beautiful. So, my dear, I hope I could give you some more or some perspective shifts on when to let go of something and when to keep persevering. As I said, it is very different for each of you. So it is not one recommendation in like this scenario or one recommendation in that scenario. I really want you to see letting go as equally beautiful part of the process. And also depending on this is the biggest thing I wanted to tell you. You really need to check in yourself where your personal growth lies. If you're a person who are good and persevering, it might be that the other side, the letting go part, is really necessary in your life. And if you're a person who can easily let go of things, I'm one of those people. I am good. I can change situations. I can move to a different country. I can let go of all my materialistic stuff, all my clothes, whatever. I have no issue. Persevering in some situations, not even in business. I have persevered for ages. Sometimes in personal relationships was a much bigger thing for me to learn and to lean into that. So really check with yourself what your area of learning is, basically. Yeah, and if you want, send me a message. Let me know where you stand, what your issues are, what you are here to learn. And obviously, if you want to take it a step further and you want to look at your business together, send me a message as well.